makes most women start a business? Is it passion, money, or freedom? Welcome to Female Founders, the podcast that takes you behind the scene with women who are founders and CEOs to help you start and scale a successful business of your own. I am your host, Nagelia de Ravine. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Female Founders. In today's episode, we are going to have an adventure conversation with Sara Kearns. She is the founder of Travels with Sara. With a childhood filled with captivating tales of Africa and a career that took her around the world, Sara has truly lived a remarkable life. From being a stewardess for British Airways to running her own businesses and becoming a great art collector and tennis player, Sara's journey is nothing short of inspiring. Join me as we uncover her experiences, delve into her love for Africa, and explore the incredible stories she has to share. So get ready to go on adventures with Sara Kearns. Thank you, Sara, for the great opportunity to have this conversation with you. And I'm looking forward to learning more about you and all the great work you have been doing. So can you tell us about your upbringing in UK and how it influenced your love for travel in Africa?
Well, it's a good question. I think I was blessed in having two amazing parents. And even though it was during World War II that I was brought into the world, they gave me basically all the encouragement that I could ever ask for in choosing a career. And travel was definitely high on the list. Flying was high on the list. And I was laughed at, like people at school said, "Oh, be real," I think young ladies like you should be nursing or teaching. I said, no, I want to be out in the world. And they just, they couldn't believe that I was so determined. And I think maybe that's one of my secrets. I am very determined. And where there's a will, there's a way. And
exactly.
If you're given a lot of encouragement from especially your parents, I think the door is wide open. And I don't think I thought about all the businesses that I have run. But somehow one led to another. My mother ran a restaurant. And so we learned the food business very early. And then my first real job was flying for BOAC at the stewardess in the days when the golden age of flying.
Yes.
It was amazing. It was amazing. Then I fell in love with the Africa bit. My father had always wanted to go, so he very kindly agreed to come with me on a safari. It was magic. So that was one dream that I managed to have come true. And after that, the sky's the limit. I quit flying in 1968. Having been on the Concorde was the last plane that I flew on as crew. And then I met my marvelous going to be husband, who was also magical. He looked like James Bond. He was on the beach in Bermuda. And I just was like, oh my God, this is gorgeous. And so, yes, it was a magical moment. And I quit flying and I went to live in Rome. And the apartment was overlooking Trevi Fountain. What else could you ask? Exactly. What else could you ask? So that was all magic too. And he left CBS in 1971, came back to West Virginia, which everyone laughed at and said, oh, why there? And I said, well, he's from there, and he was offered a very good job as a chaired professor of journalism. And we had a lovely house by the lake. And we spent 13 years. And I spent my time I ran an interior design business. Heaven knows what got me into that, other than I introduced the duvet and the duvet covers to America. So that was a sort of a first. And nothing ever seems to daunt me. I don't quite know why, but as I said, some people have a little more courage than others. So that business lasted for, 10 years. I played a lot of tennis and won everything in sight. And then we went back to living in Italy when he retired. And sadly, it was gorgeous for 3 years. Sardinia is beautiful. But he got sick.
Oh.
And so sick. The last year he was not well. And he finally came back to the States, to New York, in the summer of 86. And he entered the Sloan Kettering Hospital, I think July the 5th, right after the 4th of July. And he never came out. He died on August 1st. So that was another big, sad time. But I was very fortunate, had a wonderful friend who lived in the city who had promised Frank that she would take care of me because we all knew he wasn't going to make it. And I said, well, I can't afford to live here forever. I have to do something. And she was in debt. And so I said, well, let's open a bed and breakfast in New York City. And nobody, thought it could work. And I said, well, I think you just have to apply for a license. And I think we were one of the first registered bed and breakfasts in New York City, Upper West Side. So there we go. I did that for about 7 or 8 years. I was on the cover of Cranes magazine. Do you know Cranes? It's a business magazine. I was on the cover of that. It all seemed so natural, so easy. And when the crash happened, that's when we opened. We opened October 87. And Wall Street did a little nosedive. And all I could say was, that'll suit us just fine. People won't be able to afford the Plaza and the Ritz and whatever and paying hundreds of dollars. They will stay with us for, $100 a night instead of $500. So the business boomed. But itchy feet got the better of me. And I saw an ad for a training in Denver, Colorado, a school for household management, because apparently a lot of people made a lot of money in the early 90s and they needed staff. So I went to learn the ropes and I came out with the head job, the headmaster job of the school.
Wow.
I did it for about a year, 9 months plus. And then somebody headhunted me out of the school to go work on their private Gulfstream jet as their private chef. I went, how did this happen? Being in the right place, the right time, and willing to take on the adventure. I think I was 55 when everyone said, oh, you're a woman, that won't work. Oh, you're too old. Oh, this, oh, that. I said, just watch. And within 24 hours of being interviewed, I was given the job.
Wow.
So, isn't everything possible? The sky is the limit. So I did that for 11 years, and sadly I had to retire because age is a factor in the aviation world. And I took about 3 or 4 months to recover from the shock of not being up in the sky every day, where the sky is always blue and the sun is always out. I came back to Earth with a bang. It was like, oops, don't like it. So I thought, what shall I do? What shall I do? So I contacted a few people in Africa, in Kenya particularly, and said, do you think I could run a small, bespoke, private safari company, bringing people to Africa? And they all said no one said no. They all said, yes, you'd be perfect. So I started out learning the travel business because I'd never sold it, and soon realized I knew far more than the people trying to teach me. And I had been everywhere by this stage. I had traveled the world when I was very young. I had traveled the world on the Gulfstream. I think there are only 3-4 countries I've not been to. But anyway, cut a long story short, I started travels with Sarah in, I think it must have been 2009.
Yes.
And I've really not looked back. Well, that's a lie. COVID it came to a grinding halt. I was, I never thought I'd recover because nobody went anywhere. And anyway, what happened is businesses coming back. And I am thrilled to say a lot of interest in traveling to Africa has recurred or whatever. It's like, I can't wait to do it again. And I've just returned from a 3-week trip to Europe. I hadn't been for 4 years due to COVID. Went to see my nieces, my new grandniece and nephews, and attended an African travel show, which reignited the fire to just onward and upward. And now I have this opportunity, so I am taking it with both hands and hoping that, the exposure I get will light other people's fires and get them excited about travel. Africa is an amazing continent. It's a whole lot bigger than most people think. A whole lot.
Yes,
it is
lot.
Huge. It's huge. And people think, I can do Cairo, I can do Cape Town, I can do Vic Falls, I can do Gorillas. And I slowly say, how much time and how much money do you have? Usually the ones with the money don't have the time, and the ones with the time don't have the money. So I try and make it work. I say it really can be doable. It's not all out of reach. You have to want to do it. Yes. And I can do it, the minimum trip is 5 nights on the ground. And that will include, then you have to have a night flying there and a night flying back. So there's 2 more days that have to be added. So it's a week trip. And, it's a beginner, it's a starter trip. But I think it gets you either, I want to see more, or that was fun, I don't need to do that again. And usually it's, I can't wait to go back. Everyone gets hooked. It's wonderful. And watching people's faces, taking in the magnificent views, the social, the cultural, the food, everything is just so much
different.
It's different. It's not expected. People think there's no running water, or people think there's no electricity, or people think, Africa's a dark continent. And they don't seem to realize that, it's magnificent. I mean, it really is. It's very, very special. So I have given myself a real treat because, I'm in my 81st year, and I feel like I have a good 5 years left in me, if not more. And I just can't wait to introduce people to this amazing continent. The wildlife, the culinary excitement. I mean, it's. I think it's partly everyone there wants a job, whereas I find here people don't want to go to work anymore, and they can't wait to retire. I said, be careful what you say. Retirement is not a good thing to be in. Change of life, perfect, but retirement, putting your feet up, it's crazy.
Yeah, because it's like giving, almost like Sarah, it's when you say you're going to retire and do nothing, it's like you're giving up, I feel like, because you're not moving forward anymore. You stop your life completely.
And those people usually don't do well. They get sick.
They die faster too.
And they die faster. They haven't got any curiosity. They feel safe in their house with the key, with the doors locked. And it's not a life that I find fulfilling. I feel I have to be doing something. I have to be creating something. I have to be making other people happy. I think that's part of my secret. Getting people awakened in all the senses that they've forgotten. They're fearful. I hate it. Fear is not a good thing to live with.
It's not, because we're not supposed to fear any. Regardless, even I met people that say, I'm fear of dying, I'm fear of that. Because one thing I said, regardless what happened, things going to happen in this world, no matter if you fear it or not, it will happen. But everything is up to how you live your life. When you're
Right.
laying down, taking that last breath, did you live your life the way you wanted to live it?
No, you want to be excited every day you wake up.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yes.
want to know that you're going to be doing something, A, fulfilling, B, making other people happy, I think is huge for me. And just the excitement of going through the booking process. There's so many details. You know, they all think, oh, we can do it myself. I just go online. I said, you okay? You go try. It's not that easy. And the fact you could do it, but when you don't know anything, it's very hard to, make a good choice. And that's what I feel like after 15 years of, transforming a lot of people's lives for the better, I couldn't be happier.
But Sarah, one question that I have for you. So what
Yes.
is the process of traveling with you? How does that work exactly if someone wanna be a part of Travel with Sarah?
Well, as the name implies, travels with Sarah is exactly what I do. And it really helps, especially single people or people who really have a lot of fear. Oh, they'll say, I'll go if you'll go with us. So that's how when I started the business, I thought, this is how to get people to drop their fear level a bit. So I was willing to go with them. And then it sort of took off. People love it. And adding me to the program isn't as expensive as the client thinks. And I think I'm very good value for money because people don't get lost. People don't, make mistakes. They get on the right plane. They go to the right place. They're met by the right people and everything is seamless, which is very hard. You go on a holiday, say to Paris or London, and you book a hotel and you book your air. Then you're stuck with, now where do I go to eat? Or which part of London should I be looking at? And
Right.
all of that's taken away because all your food, all your drinks, all your excursions are part of the package. So it's a really inclusive holiday. You're not having to look for taxis. You're not having to, oh dear, I've been too late. I'm going to miss the bus or I'm going to miss the... It's stress free. And that
But
today
now,
I think is important.
yes, it is. It is. And also, okay, do you travels with Sarah? Is it only for Africa or is it anywhere in the world?
Well, when I first started, it was anywhere in the world. Then I suddenly realized the world's a very big place. So is Africa. So I sort of limited it to Africa. But on a few occasions, because I've lived in Europe, I've lived in Rome, I've lived in Paris, lived in London, I sometimes will take, people I know and like a lot, and show them the ropes. So I can do it. It's just, usually I have a pretty good schedule for 4 or 5 trips, maybe 6 to Africa each year. So, you have to get in early if you're wanting to go just to Europe or to Australia. I have a big fondness for Australia. I do have a wonderful art collection of Aboriginal art, which when I lost my husband, we didn't have a whole lot of money because we'd enjoyed life so much. And I kept saying, don't worry, we're going to enjoy life while we can, and I'll take care of myself. There was a big age difference, which never bothered me. But, in the end, I guess people worried about, what was I going to do? Well, it didn't take me long to get my feet under me and, work out. He would have been very upset had I just curled up in a ball and gave up.
Give up.
Giving up isn't part of my DNA. So I feel always confident there's something I can do, and making other people happy surely is one of the best things anyone can do, is bringing happiness into people's lives. And that's my driving force. And until I can't do it, that's what I do. So,
But
yes. Go on.
Have you? Did you ever get remarried again, or that was your?
No. He was so gorgeous, I never looked at another person. I didn't want to be, oh, that's not the way Frank would do it. Or this is, I didn't want to be comparing. I didn't. I was very lucky. Not many people, I guess, have been as lucky as I have. I mean, I had 20 wonderful years. And I know people who haven't had 20 wonderful minutes.
Yes.
So I have to be grateful for the time I had and the people I met and the places I went. And I try to continue that to this day, making other people's lives richer. And it's not money that makes you rich. I learned long ago that's not the secret. It helps. Without it, you are in trouble. But, wanting to just get richer and richer or wanting to never be satisfied, it's not a good feeling. It's not for me.
So, but now you have written a guidebook on having the best safari experience. Can you tell us more about it?
Yes, I'm in the big process of redoing the 8th edition of my Kenya book. And suddenly someone said, why don't you do them for the other countries? So I'm in the process of doing 2 more right now. One is for 4 countries together. It's Zambia, Zimbabwe, Botswana, and Namibia. And then the last one will be Tanzania at the moment. But yes, and then I have a book, a life memoir coming out very soon. That has to be, edited and published. 80 years of adventure.
Wow.
Exactly. When are you going to get started, Nikki?
That's going to be another conversation.
Another conversation.
But with your guidebooks, is it like people can buy it if they're going to Africa?
Yes, it's going to be on Amazon, and maybe we could have a link in the magazine for how to get it.
Yes.
No. I feel people should be armed with as much information without it being a big heavy book that nobody wants to read. So I've condensed it to just the vital things that make a difference in enjoying your safari and secret places that most people don't know about. And excellent guiding is tantamount. I know every safari has a guide of some kind, but they're more like taxi drivers. You really want an experienced guide. It's what I'd have a much cheaper campsite and a best guide over, staying in the Ritz. You don't need to be in a fancy hotel with, 1,000-count sheets and pillows. You want to be comfortable, you want to be clean, but you want to have a very good guide. And that, I think, is one of the big secrets to a successful safari, because you will come home a lot smarter, a lot wiser. You will have learned a lot. And learning is something you do until you die, because there's always something to learn. I think people give up on that. They
always.
know it all.
And actually, one thing I realized too, we are even learning even when we don't think we are. And
Right.
I know when I have my son, I was learning a lot of things from a baby that I didn't even know. And even now he's a little bit older, I'm still learning from him. Sometimes he'll come to me and say, Mom, did you know this animal can do that? I'm like, what? What animal is that again? Because I didn't know that animal exists at all. So we are always learning if we're willing to learn.
You have to be open to that. You have to be accepting. But I took a 2.5-year-old on safari with her parents, and they were Indian living in Chicago, and they brought their parents. So the child had grandparents, parents, and this little 2.5-year-old. And they must have sat on the plane on the way over with a book with all the animals in it. And by the time she arrived for the safari, she knew every animal in the book.
Wow.
And she was like standing in between her father's legs and holding on to the bar in the safari vehicle. And she would go, lion, lion, elephant, elephant. It was like from a 2.5-year-old. And the grandparents got to watch, they were like so proud. So, but most people will say it's too young to go. It's never too young. You're learning from the minute you arrive.
Yes.
You are. How old is your son?
8.
8. Oh my goodness. Very busy. Is he a good student?
Oh, yes. Very busy. Very good, busy student.
Well,
And he
no.
loves animals, so he will have a lot of fun with you.
Yes. No. Well, let's go.
But let me ask you, Sarah, how does
Yes.
let's say someone want to travel with you? So how
Right?
does that work? Does it need to be a group of people? Do you have it a certain time of the year?
No, I go all, you have to book, obviously. You don't go tomorrow. And first off, my first question is, do you want to do this by yourself or do you want to do it with me? Do you want me to join? And it's usually, we want you to join. Sometimes I can and sometimes I can't because the days they want to go, time frame doesn't work for me. But basically, I will take one person, 2 people. And when people say, this is a small group, there's some very fancy safari suppliers. And they say, we specialize in small groups, 12 people. I said, that's not small.
That's big.
That's 2 cars worth. No, I like to keep them up maximum 6. 5 or 6 is probably my choice. Now, obviously, everyone breaks rules. If you happen to have a family and there's more than 5 of you, I'll make it work. But they have to be all the same family. I don't want to be, what I say, filling the bus, just so I've got bums on seats. I want the trip to be very special for who's booking it. Okay. I don't want them to have to share with people unless they choose to, because too much goes wrong. People will always find a way to complain. I don't know if you've learned that in life.
Yep. No matter
what. If
you
have too many choices and somebody says, I'm not getting the same attention as the person in the front seat, or I don't like the view from my tent, or I'm blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, they're just wanting attention, but they don't seem to know how to get it. They upset, they make it miserable for everyone else because they complain. And there should be nothing to complain about. So one way to cut out the complaining is don't have too many people. Then everyone feels equal. But it's hard. And people get worried about being sick. They get worried about, I don't know. I think it's the unknown, maybe. And then once they get there.
Yes.
Why didn't you tell me it was going to be this easy or this beautiful or the people were so kind? I said, I was. You weren't listening. Because they have this fear, they drape over them like some sort of blanket, and they can't believe that what I'm telling them is the truth until they get there. And then it's like overjoyed. So it's fun to watch that. It's fun.
It is. But you also, Sarah, you also have a radio show, correct?
I did. I haven't done that now for a few years. The market that I should be doing it on NPR, but I haven't managed to do that. I feel like if I wanted to, I could do that. But it was the local radio station, and the demographics around here are not quite safari material. And I realized that after about 3 years of it. And it was a lot of work because I did all the work. And, I didn't have somebody writing scripts. I did everything straight off the top of my head. And I had to talk it live. It was a live show and people could, call in.
Cool.
But, it was very cool. But I didn't want to have to pay for it. And they couldn't seem to find people who wanted to support me. I mean, it's the demographics of the area just aren't right. And I didn't realize that until I was already in business, that I probably should be living on the other side of the Hudson. But, I love where I live. I'm on a lovely farm, 18 horses.
I
And,
can hear them in the background.
well, I'm very fortunate. It's a very country, simple, feet on the ground. I don't have to get into an elevator. Don't need a doorman. No. I've got as near to perfect life as you can have.
It sounds like an exciting life, which is the one that you get to live free and enjoy it.
Well, that's what I like to try and present to people, that they would enjoy life, try something new, try something different. And so far, everyone I've taken over the 15 years, it's changed their lives. So I feel I've done them a good turn. And hopefully I will give a few more people in my lifetime the opportunity. That's when I think I realized as a child that I was given all this opportunity. I didn't realize it then as to how valuable it was, or is, still is. But people say, oh, I'd love to do what you do. And I said, there's nothing stopping you. And they look at me and go, I couldn't do what you do. I'd like to, but I can't. Why can't you?
Yes, we can.
It's people build walls. They don't realize it. They build themselves into a box. And
Themselves, they put themselves there.
Yeah, they do. And they have a key and they lock the door.
Yes.
But you have adventures. You know what an adventure's like. You don't know until you do it.
I have, but I think that I would love in the next few years to be able to have even more adventures, to be able to go out there and see the things that other people haven't. I would love to be able to spend the last 20 years of my life doing just that.
Well, you've got a dream, and you're going to make it work. It will happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's a means to an end. We all have to work doing something. You want to be doing something that you enjoy, that fulfills you, and gives you a reason to get up in the morning. And I think far too many people are going to work because they have to, but not doing what they want. That I find sad. But they get stuck. They want insurance. They want security. I said, why? Be free. Choose a different way. Choose experience different things. I think people get nervous.
They do.
They do.
I wish more people would open their mind and see that there's other way.
There's another way. Yeah. There's always another way. And I think there's a big change going on right now. And I think post-COVID is proving that people don't really want to go back to work because they didn't like what they were doing. And there's a sort of real revolution in the workplace, trying to do something. I mean, the entrepreneurial people will do quite well. But those people who want to be just taken care of and given, arrive at 9, leave at 5, and they don't really care what they're doing. They don't care about it, how good it is. All they can think of, oh, well, it's my break. Oh, dear, I don't work after 5. I won't, I can't, I don't. And I'm thinking, well, you should be doing something you like doing, so that isn't the answer that you give.
But Sara, if you're looking back into all of the adventures you have, what advice would you give someone who wants a fulfilling life with travel and exploration?
I think you have to have some courage. That helps. I wouldn't just quit my job and say, oh, I'm going to go around the world. I think you have to plan a little bit. You have to save some money. You have a means to an end. So this is what you will do in 18 months or a year if you're lucky. make that big decision to change your life, it will change everything for the better. But I think after high school, people should seriously think before going to even college or university to take some time and travel. It doesn't matter how far, but go out and be free and test the waters as to what you might like to do, because you're going to spend the next, how many, 40, 50, 60 years doing something. I mean, not many people can live without working. So you want to make sure that what you're working for is something you'll enjoy. Because if you don't, you'll be miserable. But at 20, all you want is a secure job. You want to be paid a lot of money and you have no experience. So I think getting some experience when you're young, because when you're young, you can make mistakes and recover. I think it's taking that risk, which I think of all the things when I talk to people, it's they said, oh, it's too risky, not to have a secure job, not to go straight to university, not to land yourself. And then you're stuck with a job that you really don't like, and you're working, with your nose to the grindstone and not enjoying it.
But you know what? A lot of the successful people, some of them didn't even finish school or went to school.
They didn't finish. Well, Richard Branson, he's a famous non-school finisher, and he always says you have to fail to succeed. Very good advice. You have to learn how to fail so you know how to succeed. And failure teaches you this. But people are fearful of failing.
But that's the only way you learn. That's the
only way you learn. And that's what he says. And he's made a lot of mistakes. He's made a lot of money. But he's had to, rethink several of his ideas. But until you put yourself to the test, you don't know. So you have to plan, and then you see, oh, I should have done this or I should have done that. But if you don't do the right thing, you're stuck with doing, making the same mistakes all the time. You have to learn to accept the failing and start winning, start changing it's your mindset, or is it your program? Is it you're not doing something you really like? But it's hard. I mean, we're all in the same boat. Everyone's trying to make a living. Everyone's trying to survive. And some people do a better job of it. But as I said, all along, it's not how much money you make. It's how much pleasure the work you're doing gives you.
How much pleasure. So now being featured by Women in Business as an honoree and having been in many publications, you have made an impact in multiple fields. So how does it feel to be recognized for your achievement? But also, what message do you hope to send to people with your memoir, Travels with Sara?
Sara, well, I'm opening the door to you can do it too. People all say, oh, I couldn't do that. Well, you basically can, and it's never too late. Look, I've had 15 years in retirement working at something I love doing. Not many people can say that. I don't think.
Not in that age, no, absolutely not.
No. And I'm not looking forward to closing the door. I'm opening more doors. Thanks to you. I feel like I will have a bigger audience. I will hopefully change more people's lives for the better.
Live a better life. Enjoy it.
Right. And it's exciting. As I said, you want to wake up in the morning feeling good about yourself and making other people's lives richer. And that is my goal.
So how can someone reach out to you for Travels with Sara?
How can they reach out?
Yes, if they want to travel with you.
Oh, they just have to go on my website, Travels with Sara at whatever it is. Travels with Sara. It's Sara Travels. No, I'm hopeless, aren't I? Sara at sarahsignaturesafaris.com is a website. There's my phone number, reachable all the time, 917-346-8683. And my email, I have two, travelswithsara@gmail.com and Sara at sarahsignaturesafaris.com. So I'm reachable 24/7. I sometimes don't wake up in the middle of the night, but I do a lot of business in Africa and I'm 8 hours behind. So I do have long work days. But it's not every day. But always reachable and always there to answer. You know, I'm not an Expedia.com. No, I'm definitely a hands-on person and really want to make the safari a very special trip. And it takes a lot.
And if a very memorial, a very good experience, memory, to something to remember in near future with your family as well.
Exactly. The opportunity to take pictures. It's amazing how smart your brain is because most people don't use most of it. But when you get to Africa, there's something about all your senses are lit up like neon. It's like it smells better. It looks amazing. The hearing, the sounds you hear, you become much more aware. It awakens the senses. And I guess in the end, there's a big push now for wellness trips. Well, there couldn't be a better trip to take than a safari in Africa because it does make you feel good. It has the best feel good.
I think it's another way too for people to get away from it all because you work all year long. You probably have a job you can't stand, but you stay on it because you have a family to take care.
Right.
So it's a good way to run away with your family, enjoy a week of looking at something that's different, something that's
very different.
Life,
but it's
not, that's where it's all started anyway. That's where everything started on Earth. Yeah.
The cradle of civilization, right there in Africa. But it gives people, they're spoiled rotten. They don't realize because we have no basic help or staff anymore. You know, that disappeared in the Dark Ages. But you get to Africa and there are so many people wanting to take care of you that they think ahead of what you might like. They know all of your favorite things because I've told them, so that when you get to camp, your favorite drink will be right there. Your favorite food will be right there. And you haven't had to go to the store and buy the food. You're spoiled rotten. It's the best possible way to feel good. It does.
Yes.
It's a very special thing.
Are there any upcoming destination you are excited about?
Yes, I've got, this afternoon I have clients wanting to go see the gorillas. That's a very special trip. Very special trip. And then I have a new island resort in what is known as the armpit of Africa, sort of just south of Ghana and west of Gabon. And it's Sao Tome, and it looks absolutely heavenly. I can't wait to go. I'm hoping I will be doing it in the next 6 months. I have a big trip to Zambia and Zimbabwe in November and looking for maybe some people to go in early November to have a quick trip to Kenya. So I've got a sort of quite a busy calendar ahead of me.
Yes, you do.
But isn't that what we all want? You don't want to be bored. You want to be busy.
You want to stay alive, and to stay alive is to keep yourself moving forward.
Exactly. And every experience is new and exciting and invigorating. So what more can you ask? Everyone says I'm an optimist. Well, I think life would be very dull if you weren't.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing. So anything else you'd like to share with us before I let you go today?
I think we've covered quite a lot.
You have an excited life, and to tell you the truth, Sarah, I hope one day I get to enjoy life as you have, and also be able to live such a very long, successful.
You will. I promise.
life
I
as
promise.
well.
I promise you will. After this little publication, we'll put our heads together, and you can bring your son along and have a week off.
Sound like a plan.
Your plan. Well, thank you so much, Nagalia, and we talk again very soon.
Well, thank you so much, Sarah, for the opportunity to talk to you, and I look forward to having some adventures with you.
There you go. Perfect. Our paths, what would you say? The paths cross for a reason. Our
Absolutely,
paths.
always.
And that's how I face life. I said, very little is by accident. It's by design. But who did the designing, I'm not sure. Some divine upstairs.
Who knows? Somehow, somewhere, but we're supposed to meet and we're supposed to make things happen. That's all that's matters.
There you go. Making things happen. That should be your motto. Making things happen.
Things happen.
Thank you for listening to Female Founders Podcast. That's it for this week's episode. Be sure to follow us on your favorite podcast app or connect with us on womel.com so that you don't miss our next episode. See you next time. Bye for now.